Good to go? Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to get going with our oath of office ceremony for 2022. I'm going to hand this over to Town Clerk Weber, who will start swearing folks in.
All right. First up, we have Counselor Nicholson. Do you want to come up, and anybody who wants to come up with you? All right. All right. If you could raise your right hand. Do you, William Nicholson, do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of town councilor according to the best of your abilities?
I do.
Congratulations. You're going to go ahead and sign right there. Congratulations. Next, we have Counselor Creasel, and I understand you have some family members that are to come up and hold the Bible.
And I have the biggest Bible.
Looks good.
Okay. Okay. Right hand down, left up.
Caitlin, can you?
Yeah, come over
Raise your
here.
right hand.
Yeah, just come
You
over
guys
here.
come right over there. All right. Do you, Caitlin Creasel, do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of town councilor according to the best of your abilities?
I do.
Congratulations. I won't jump up and down. Go ahead and sign right there. My track close. Next, we have Counselor Bollinger. Did it. And if you want to raise your right hand. Do you, Sarah Bollinger, do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of town councilor according to the best of your abilities? Congratulations. And last but not least, we have John Deere, supervisor. Come on up. All right, if you raise your right hand. Do you, John Deere, do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of town supervisor according to the best of your abilities?
I do.
Congratulations. John had already signed
Yes.
for legal purposes, so that's it.
So
Everybody's
we'll
sworn
take a
in.
pause. Everybody can chat, take pictures if you'd like, and we'll get started promptly at 6:30.
And I would encourage everyone to stay for the organizational meeting because it is quite interesting and it is your local government at work. So please stay. So it's, I think that we just say, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion now, and then you just read it.
Good to go? Ready? I'd like to call this meeting to order, the organizational meeting for 2022. Councilor Nicholson, would you like to lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, as is tradition with the organizational meeting, we have a number of motions to make tonight, and we have that pre-scripted to make things move nice and quickly. So I believe we have a motion to be made.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Alyssa Italiano to the town board for a term ending.
For a
this
one-year term.
Year,
Yeah.
for a one-year term.
for the vacancy.
To fill the vacancy of you, Mr. John Deere, who has recently been promoted to town supervisor.
And I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstain? Motion carries.
Congratulations.
So before we can move forward and you can officially vote, we need to do your oath of office. So if you want to come right around over here. And if you want to raise your right hand. Do you, Alyssa Italiano, do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of town councilor according to the best of your abilities? I do. Congratulations.
So, you want to go around and let everyone introduce themselves? Oh. So before we continue, I'm going to allow the councilors to introduce themselves. Elena, if you'd like to get started.
Town councilor?
William Nicholson, new town councilor.
Heather Waters, town councilor.
Allison Weber, town clerk.
John Deere, town supervisor.
Tim Protesta, the attorney for the town.
Sarah Ballinger, town councilor.
Alyssa Italiano, new town councilor.
And I'm Caitlin Priestel. I'm a town councilor.
And old town manager.
And
There's something to be said for that, Anna.
so
Okay, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 25 in the amount of $117,636.88.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make the motion to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with technical temperature transfer to maintain the HVAC system at Town Hall.
And Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Tim Kelly as chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a one-year term expiring 12/31/22.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Joseph Luthia as chairperson to the planning board for a one-year term expiring 12/31/2022.
And I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Supervisor, I'd like to make an motion to appoint Edmund Theobald as a member of the planning board for a one-year term expiring 12/31/2022 to fill the position vacated by Fred Gilbert.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to appoint Judy Salamone as member to the planning board for a 7-year term expiring 12/31/2028.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Warren Linhart as member to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a one-year term expiring 12/31/22 to fill the vacated position of Judy Salamone.
I will second.
All in
That
favor?
was,
But we skipped
Yeah,
one.
That's
that's
okay,
okay.
we'll go back.
Well, let's do it and then go back.
well, did we get the date incorrect?
Nope.
He just said 2020.
For Linhart.
Yeah, because it's a one-year term.
Okay, so we.
We have to go back to 11 for.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Carrie Catalino as member to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term expiring December 31st, 2026.
And I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Baldwin, Stefan, and Jesse as the planning and zoning attorney and authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to second the motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Miller Engineers as engineer for the planning board and the assistants to the planning and development department as outlined in the contract that we have reviewed.
I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
And Mr. Supervisor, I would also like to make a motion to appoint Stephanie Grasheshi and Heather Waters as tree commission co-chairs for a term ending 12/31/2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do I abstain or can I vote for this?
You can vote.
You can vote.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Baldwin, Sutphin, and Potesky as attorney for the town and to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract and to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with Harris Beach to serve as backup counsel.
I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Should we clap for Tim?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Matthew Dunn, CPA, town accountant, and authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract.
I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Garum Group and authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract.
I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to appoint Maureen Butland from Blue Line Accreditation Consulting to and authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract.
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Robert Winter, Northwood Services LLC, and authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract.
I'd like to second that motion.
That's a song.
That's good.
All in favor?
It's a song. It's a good song.
Opposed? Carries. We're all feeling it tonight.
Oh my gosh.
I just lost track of where we were.
21.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Allison Weber, town marriage officer.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Allison Weber as the town records officer.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Clap for Allison.
No.
Congratulations.
Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Chris Peck, town safety coordinator.
I'd second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Barbara Rivette as town historian.
I'd like to second that, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with the Manlius Historical Society.
And I would like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to appoint Sarah Bollinger as our deputy supervisor.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Congratulations, Sarah.
I appreciate the backup.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the health insurance premium split for non-collective bargaining unit members as 84% paid by the town and 16% paid by the employee. And for the town board and justices, active and retired, the health insurance premium split will be 50% town, 50% employee or retiree.
I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the board rules and procedures.
And I would like to second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the supervisor for the prepayment of utilities, phone, and employee benefits as needed.
I'd like to second that, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the procurement policy.
I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
So all you need to do is make the motion as set forth in the resolution. So you don't have to read through each one.
Are we on that one then?
Yep.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to approve the following officers or their designees to attend meetings and be reimbursed as set forth in the resolution.
All
I'll second that.
all in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint yourself as the delegate to the Association of Towns annual meeting with Heather Waters as the alternative delegate.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to set the reimbursement rate for meals when traveling on behalf of the town at $35 per day for all meals with receipts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, with one potential update, I would like to make a motion to approve the holidays. Under Columbus Day and Indigenous People, I would just update it to say Indigenous Peoples Day.
And it should be, the apostrophe in peoples isn't where you think it should be. So let's just make sure we spell that right.
And
Thank you. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the holidays as official town holidays as set forth in the document with that one update.
Supervisor, I'd like to second that.
all in favor? Opposed? Carries.
So the apostrophe goes at the end, not in between the two. I got that wrong once. I was
Because there's more
corrected.
than one people.
Yeah, yes. And it's all the people.
It's all the people.
So, Mr. Supervisor, I would like to approve the committee assignments, liaison to committee, and projects as outlined in the resolution.
And I would like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following department liaison assignments as presented.
Oh, that's me. I'd like to second that, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to approve the village liaisons as outlined in the resolution.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to approve the banks as outlined in the resolution that we have been doing business with. We have to do business with multiple banks. It's different from regular business.
It's a great motion. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022 town board meeting schedule and meeting times as proposed in the resolution.
I'd second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion that we schedule the town budget workshops in 2022 for the 7th and 14th of September at 4:00 p.m. respectively.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like.
Opposed?
No, the work of the people, absolutely. Mr. Supervisor, may I make a motion to approve mileage at 58.5 cents per mile for business miles driven?
I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
The supervisor would like to make a motion to enter into the annual agreement to spend highway funds.
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve highway specifications and highway agreement.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to designate the Eagle Bulletin and recognize its publisher, David Tyler here, as the official town newspaper and the Post Standard as the alternative.
And I'll second.
Alternate.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize you to ratify existing contracts for officers and public officials insurance with Taylor, Fryer, and Food.
Supervisor, I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained,
I would like to abstain due to my business relationship with the company.
motion carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve salaries as listed here and in the approved budget.
All in favor? Opposed, carries.
Wow,
It's
a lot of people. We're on page 11. We got lost.
At least 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yeah.
we did we approve? Did we
Nope,
approve?
you're good.
We're good, okay. Make a motion to ratify the current employee handbook.
Supervisor, I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed, abstained, carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to ratify the fee schedule as outlined in the organizational document.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to approve the professional fees schedule as proposed in the resolution.
And that does include an increase compared to previous years.
This is the 5% increase? Okay.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to ratify the town clerk fee schedule as presented.
I would like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I would like to make a motion to adopt the official undertaking of municipal officers resolution as presented for 2022.
And Mr. Supervisor, I would like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to renew the existing box pass contract as presented.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries.
I'd like to please make a motion, Mr. Supervisor, to implement the resolution implementing Executive Order 11.1 and granting taxpayer relief by extending the senior and individual disabilities and limited income exemption to 2022.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd love to second that motion.
All in favor?
And the
Opposed?
resolution has been presented to the board.
Yes.
So you all see the full resolution.
As presented to the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Opposed, carries.
Mr. Supervisor, like to make a resolution to make a budget adjustment in recognition that we actually got more money than we were planning from the state, and to adjust the budget to reflect that as we were previously informed.
I'd like to second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Oh,
And
nope, nope. That's for the, when we have to vote on this. So,
We have to, yeah.
I was gonna ask a question.
oh, you're gonna ask a question?
Yeah, so now we're gonna do something that's a little bit different than the regular
Yep.
organization. meeting. Okay.
Yep, so we are just, going to give Twin Shores Properties an opportunity to present the zone change. And if everyone's on board, we'll schedule a public hearing at the end of that.
Great. Can I just interrupt before they
Yep.
stand up? I was just going to say, I was really struck by how much great information and how helpful as an overview of what we do in every way, shape, and form. It's in this organizational agenda. So I just wanted to encourage, I'm doing this on video so that I can snap, segment it and then save it later. But please check out the organizational agenda for tonight. It has everything. Who we are, what everybody's paid, what things cost, what our fees are. And I think it's a great way to be in touch. Thanks.
Fantastic. Go for it.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Serio. I'm here with Rotary Grant for PDK Engineering. Mr. Newman, the developer, is also here with his daughter Abby and two members of my office, Nate Riley and Dave Hercola. And I think pretty much everyone has an idea of what we're doing. We're here to request two things. We're asking the board to do two things tonight. One is to schedule a public hearing, and two, to refer this matter to the planning board. And that will accomplish two things. One, the obvious is you will get public input from the public hearing. That being scheduled, people will be able to come and comment on it. And secondly, you will get the benefit of the recommendations of your town planning board upon the packet that they will receive based on the zone change. So the area, if there's any specific questions about the zone, I'll let Joe talk about it, but basically we're talking about North Burdick Street, right? What's been commonly referred to in past discussions as the Fietta property. It's across from town center, across from the senior center, across from the car dealership areas, that whole area. Basically, we want to mirror that zone. So right now, our zone is neighborhood shopping, residential 1, and restricted agricultural. We want to mirror what's across the street, which will be commercial A, commercial B, and restricted agricultural. And that's basically it. Any questions?
So the board has questions?
So I have a couple questions. I was wondering why CB? Because it's one of our more intensive uses.
Why what?
CB, the request for CB.
CB.
Yeah.
The CB, it gives us more flexibility on the.
Would you like to step up to the
Oh, I'm
podium?
sorry. CB gives us some flexibility on the, for the ability to build in drive-throughs. And the other one is, on CB is the ability to have fueling facility.
That's my concern.
What kind of facility?
Gas
few- gas
station.
Okay.
Gas station. Okay, so that's my concern. And then two, I know you guys don't exactly know what you're building, but then some of the questions in your application weren't completely filled out. So in that sense, when you can act like, I understand this is zone change. So if for us to kind of consider it, we really need to look at all the possibilities that could go in there, meaning like a deficit or drive-throughs. So I was curious, why do you think RM and the current zoning NS won't work for what we want to do?
So when we looked at the, really mirroring the opposite side of the North Burdick Street corridor, it gives us the most flexibility. The exact businesses that are being researched right now haven't been finalized. And the reason, when you look at the application package, when you're going through a zone change application, you're looking for the maximum use under those zone designations. That gives us some flexibility, but the details of what's going to be proposed goes into the site plan application. So whether it's a special use permit or something like that, the planning board gets to weigh in on that. So the part of the secret form that
Yeah, that's what I'm
identifies
thinking.
that, they basically, when it's a zone change application, it's more administrative. And then when you get into the planning board side of it, that's when you work out those details.
But we still have to consider the environmental impact even with the zone change.
Okay, but I think in the secret process, what we would do here is refer that to the planning board with a recommendation, have our public hearing and identify those kind of issues, then we go back to the town board. So all we're doing is specifying an overall list for the zoning without getting into what the actual site plan uses are, and it's more of a consideration for the planning board.
Right. But like one of the questions is like, how much land will be disturbed? And like for us to answer that in a secret way, I feel like we would need to approximately know.
Yeah, and again, we can answer any of those details, but when you're going through a zone application for a zone change, we're not doing the site development aspects. We don't have an answer to that right now.
So to kind of address your question, and I think what Joe is saying, what Tom is saying is true in the sense that you don't know what the development's going to look like because it's a zone change. But you as a town board can still, as you just said, look at everything that is allowed in that zoning from a seeker standpoint, from an environmental review standpoint, and come up with a conclusion because you don't know what the zone, well, you don't know what it's going to be. You can look at the things that concern you most from a seeker standpoint and bring those types of points out during the process of a zone change.
I mean, we've considered that before, like in zone change requests, we've like when someone wanted to change a zone to industrial, we said, that could, sure, maybe you're not intending to build this thing, but you
Yeah,
could
but
then
something
build
could
it.
go there, right?
Right,
Once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
And you talked about that a lot, so that's
Yeah,
your point.
And I think it's gonna be a really important part of the public hearing, and as we reach out to folks, and I'm sure questions will come in once we've got it scheduled. But that's gonna be the thing, is we're gonna have to consider this zone change as the zone change, not necessarily what's gonna be there. And Elaine, I think you bring up a really good point of, we need to consider everything that's in CB and really consider if that's gonna fit that zone.
So my concern too is with TV and those lakes right there. Again, it's just.
Absolutely.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you, are you considering a fueling facility, a gas station or anything like that?
No,
Or
absolutely
you're
not.
not considering anything like that?
First of all, no, we're not.
Okay.
Right? And second of all, a fueling facility or gas station wouldn't want to go in the middle of a block anyway. So, but no, we're not. There is no.
Okay, so then the question becomes, why CB?
The fueling facility was part of our, we had worked on, Dave Newman with Twin Shores.
If you want to just, because people can't hear you unless you're up here, you can just start over and go.
Dave Newman with Twin Shores Development Group. As part of the process, when we started with the town in our meetings in the fall, we had a meeting with both chiefs, and the police chief had mentioned that he was looking for moving a facility that has a garage and a work, area, repair of cars, light vehicles, and there was a fueling facility in there. We didn't know that. So in order to accommodate that use and keep time open for the town to make its decision, that is the zoning that gets us there. And it mirrors exactly what's across the street. If you're not amenable to changing that, then we can't do anything with the town.
And that's really, we're still
So we're
exploring
trying to keep
options
that
for, what potentials could be here. But I think, Elaine, you bring up a really good point. We are making a zone change. We have to consider everything that can go there. And that, as we continue this discussion, we'll have to consider that.
But they're answering the question that the reason why it's CB is so that the police station can have a fueling
If the
station.
police station were to be relocated there, that we would have the opportunity to have a fueling station.
And my understanding is if we own the land, then the zone doesn't apply to us. So that
Correct.
doesn't.
If we actually own the facility, then you're not subject to your own zone. Municipalities are not subject to that.
typical.
But we're considering still a lease arrangement.
There's a possibility.
That's different.
Yep.
So
And
then
we're
we would
leaving,
have to
essentially,
change
this is allowing us to leave the options open, allow the developers to keep moving forward while we do our due diligence and really consider what,
So
what
this
our
will give
plans
us
are.
time, Elaine, to dig into those questions and we'll hear feedback from the planning board. I think I'd feel comfortable making a motion to move forward but then let's address the things you're worried about.
So as long, I think it's good to get a recommendation from the planning board, but I would like to wait to schedule the hearing.
Well, the goal is to schedule the hearing so we can plan for that. And we've scheduled it so that the planning board will have time to get us their recommendation. And we always have the option of keeping it open for one meeting to further consider anything we see. So we will have plenty of time to fully consider the zone change application.
Are you concerned that there's not enough time before the public hearing for us to appropriately vet it? Or for the public to learn about it and to have time to respond?
No, I guess I'm fine. I'm just concerned about CB. Period.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's going to be a really important part of the discussion for this.
Mr. Supervisor, it's in the agenda.
So we have to make a motion to refer.
Yeah, make a motion to refer it to the planning board for their review and recommendation. Planning board does not normally hold a public hearing for a recommendation. They have in the past.
Can we encourage them to do so?
Well,
We're gonna do it.
by scheduling one,
We
we are saying there will be a public hearing.
I'm sorry, what I was talking about was referring it to the planning board for them to give their recommendation to this board, but for this board to set a public hearing for February 9th so that we can do the public hearing.
Oh, February, okay. February ninth,
okay.
that's fine.
February 9th.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to set a date for the public hearing on the Twin Shores properties and to make a referral to the planning board.
For February 9th
For
at
February 9th?
6:35 PM.
6:35
Yes.
or 6:35 PM?
And I'd like to second.
Any discussion?
Oh, we can do that motion in one motion.
Well, let's do them. Let's break the motion up. We're going to refer the application for the zone change as presented by the applicant tonight to the planning board.
So say
That can be your first motion.
I will make the motion to present to allow Twin Shores to present to the planning board at their scheduled time.
to get feedback.
To get
on-
feedback on their proposed zone change recommendation.
Correct.
And I'd like to second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And then would you like-
We'd also like to make a motion to set a public hearing on said application for zoning change for this town board meeting on February 9th at 6:35 PM.
And I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So before we get to the last and probably most anticipated motion of the evening, I just want to thank everybody. I think this is start of something good. I appreciate, I do want to say a special thanks to Ed Theobald and Karen Green. These were two absolutely outstanding public servants who really helped us get to where we are as a board. And I just want to give a special shout out to Mr. Theobald for being an absolutely fantastic outgoing supervisor, a mentor. I've learned so much from him in a short time, and I'm really looking forward to what we're going to do here by really building on what he was able to do here for so long. So I just want to thank Ed officially, and someone who would like to make a motion.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Good night, everybody.
So welcome.
Great job.
This was quite a whirlwind.
Good job.
Wow.
That was
Good job.
half hour.
Wow, the whole thing.
I thought it was like.
Really nice job.